Sup, guys? It's Toad back with you. This is going to be Better Off Dead late night edition for Thursday, June 19th, which I said I was going to do it tonight. Got to get some sleep, then I got to fly out to Florida for Bohemian Grove. Get your tickets to that if you guys want to come see some live conspiracy and comedy. Wednesday on the show went 1-0 as the Milwaukee and Cubs game got rained out. And the same pitching matchup will happen tomorrow, but I might just scratch that play. I'm as of now, I'm not even going to recommend that same play, even though it's going to be the same pitching matchup. I just don't even think I want it. Houston got there with the -1.5 run line as they started putting up some runs in that game, and then their bullpen got a little bit shaky towards the end, but they still won the game 11-4. So the Houston Astros got us a win there. That was the only play that wound up counting today. So 1-0. I mean, it's what you want. You got to be selective. Take it. Pick your spots. I'm going to recommend 3 plays for Thursday. The Thursday board is actually a lot bigger than I thought it was because we had multiple rainouts. So I think there are 2 double headers now in Major League Baseball, which pisses me off because I like to just focus on Thursday, man. Let's try to get this done. NBA Finals, Game 6 is happening. Thunder at the Pacers. We're traveling back to Indianapolis for this 2 days off. The Thunder are up from a 4-point favorite to now a 6.5-point favorite here. 52% of tickets, 62% of the cash coming in on them. Now, this is similar line movement to the last game in Indiana, which was Game 4. Game 3, I believe the line went up a little bit as well, from somewhere in the 4 range to 5.5. Game 4, it went up from 4 to 6, somewhere in that range, and now it's gone a little bit further than that. Some of it's due to the Halliburton injury news, as Halliburton got injured in the last game, which is why he basically didn't do anything, even though he was on the floor for 30 minutes. I think I said he got no points, but that wasn't true. He actually hit 4 free throws. He was 0 for 6 from the field, though, so he obviously was completely ineffective in that game. And as I mentioned, I'm assuming he's going to play in this game because I think this line would be even higher if he wasn't going to play. I think he's going to try to gut it out, and he's obviously not going to be 100%, but with 2 days off, I think he's probably going to be in better shape than he was in the previous game. So if you're getting a good number on his point prop or something like that, I don't know how good the number would be, but it might make sense to try to go over his point total or something like that. But it might also make sense to look at some of the other role players if you think that maybe he's not going to be 100%. Some of these guys coming off the bench might be doing something for the Pacers there as well. But all in all, I like the Thunder in this game. I mean, I pretty much think the series is over, which hopefully it is, because as you guys know, I have a series bet on the Thunder that I took after they fell down 2-1 at -200. I felt that it was a really good spot to do it at a really cheap price, as they started the series -660 or something like that, and now they're -1500 to win the whole thing, because they just need to win one of these 2 games. Let's not jinx it, but they better do it. As I've been saying on the show, I'm not actually betting anything right now, except I did bet that, but the stuff that I'm giving out on the show is just picks, and I'm not actually betting them right now, just to kind of conserve money here. Historically, as I mentioned this on this morning's show, historically, when a team goes up 3-2, they tend to actually put it away in Game 6, even if they are on the road. That's been the history, especially in the NBA Finals. That's just the way that it is. It happens, and when the team is a favorite on the road, they tend to put it away even more so, which has only happened a few times, though. I think it's only happened 3 times maybe in the last couple of decades, but I think the favorite covered every single time. So the history is kind of on the Thunder side in that regard. However, the Thunder only have covered 1 game on the road in the playoffs all postseason, so you still have to deal with that if you do like the Thunder here, which I would lean to the Thunder. The cash is coming in on the side of the Thunder, but you are having to go against this postseason trend this season where the Thunder, I believe, are 1-8 against the spread on the road, and the Pacers, I believe, they've been definitely better at home. I think they're 7-3 straight up at home, I want to say. I think they might be a little bit worse than that against the spread, though. But, of course, the Thunder are a different animal, though. They are the better team. They're the healthier team right now as well. And I think once the Thunder realized the mistakes that they made early in the series, especially in game one, blowing that almost insurmountable lead in game one, pulling some of their big men, I think they know what their rotation should be here, and they know how to win this. So I think the Thunder are likely to go in here and win this game, especially if Halliburton is not 100%. It might just be the end of the road for the Pacers. So that would be my lean in this game. The total's all the way down from 224.5 to 221.5, but I think that's a reaction to the Halliburton injury as well, expecting that maybe the Pacers won't be as effective scoring and might not be able to run their offense as much as they would if he was at 100%, and might not be able to push the pace as much. But at this point, I think maybe the total is dropped too low because this is like 11 points lower than the total was in like games 1 and 2. So I think it is a bit of an overreaction on the total. 78% of tickets on the over, only 58% of cash on the over, but I don't think I would go under this total. I mean, I think most of the games of the series have gone over a total of 221.5. So I do think that there's not a whole lot of room there to go under that number, even though it looks like the initial money came in under the opener of 224.5. But I think that number's gotten away from us. I think the Thunder for the side does make sense as long as you lay like 6.5. Don't lay 7 with the Thunder if you can help it. Obviously, you don't have to lay 7 right now. I doubt that you'll even have to. If it's definitively announced that Halliburton is going to play, you might see the number even tick back down a little bit to 6, and I think that will happen. I mean, it seems like, he's questionable right now, but I think he's probably probable is really how I would list it. It seems like he is going to play and like try to gut it out. I mean, this is the finals. It might be your last game. If you have any like possibility of getting out on the floor, you're going to get out on the floor if you're him, and he seems to be saying that he's going to, so I think that will be the case. But of course, as I always say, the 7 is the key number in basketball, as that's a 3-possession threshold, so you do want to get on the better side of the 7. Nate, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. Vivaldi, baby, yeah, the 4 seasons. All right, we have WNBA, and I'm actually going to give it a play, as I've skipped the WNBA the last couple of days. Phoenix is at New York. I'm not going to give out a play in this one. The Liberty, as we know, they're either the best or the second best team in the WNBA. It's them and Minnesota at the top, and then everybody else. Liberty are up from 11.5-point favorite to a 12-point favorite here. Phoenix is on a back-to-back because they played tonight against Connecticut, and I mentioned Connecticut was on a back-to-back tonight, so kind of rare in the WNBA to have a back-to-back, but we have back-to-backs on back-to-back nights involving 2 teams that played tonight. Phoenix won tonight, but they did not cover after Connecticut came off that like brawl game against Indiana there. Kind of crazy. So I kind of expected Connecticut to get blasted in this game on the back-to-back off of that, but Phoenix did not cover the spread. That's why you don't lay huge numbers like this, especially the WNBA. But now Phoenix is on the back-to-back and having to travel to New York, although it's short travel from Connecticut to New York. But I would not want to play Phoenix in this game. I mean, they are the significantly lesser of the 2 teams, even though the records probably make it look like that's not really the case. Phoenix has a pretty good record. So, like, the public might look at this and think, well, wait a minute. Like, this spread looks really big to be laying to a team that's 9-4. But I think it is justified, especially on the back-to-back. The Liberty are definitely the better team. Phoenix, I think, is not quite as good as their record looks, even though I do think they actually have gotten some of their players back. I think that they were missing earlier in the season. So I think they're not quite as bad as maybe I was saying that they were earlier, but I think it's Liberty or pass in this game. Give me Liberty or give me death, basically, in this game. But I wouldn't play it. I am going to recommend a play on the second game, though, and I have not typed them in to the banners here, so bear with me here. But this is going to be taking the points with Golden State plus 11.5 here. It said either 11.5 or 11. I saw it at 11.5 a little while ago. Either way, not much of a difference. We're going to fade Indiana here. Indiana laying a huge price on the road. And the one thing that I worry about a little bit is just that the fact that Indiana only has a record that's 1 game better than the Golden State. So it looks like the public might think, like, wait a minute, this line like makes no sense, right? Like, how are the Fever laying 11.5 against Golden State? But I think that that's mitigated somewhat because the Fever have such a public like persona around them. And I think the public kind of knows, well, the Fever lost some of those games without Caitlin Clark. they know Caitlin Clark is back now. So I do think the Fever still kind of have a tendency to be a public team in general and a public side, but this has more to do with the spot, man. As I was just saying, Indiana just came off a couple of huge games where they beat the New York Liberty and gave them their only loss of the season. Huge win there. And then they beat Connecticut in that game where everybody was brawling, man. Caitlin Clark, she got her eye poked, got shoved by another player on Connecticut, and then Sophie Cunningham came to her defense basically and yanked one of the chicks' hair or whatever. I mean, dude, I like watching chick fights, man. I just wish the WNBA players were a little bit hotter, although Sophie Cunningham is pretty hot. But that was a huge game, dude, for Indiana, which sounds weird because I know Connecticut is terrible. I keep saying they're one of the worst teams in the league. They are, but that was like a big revenge spot for Indiana, not just because Connecticut actually beat Indiana at Indiana earlier this year, but Connecticut was the team that eliminated Indiana from the playoffs last year. In Caitlin Clark's rookie season, they made the playoffs, and Connecticut was a better team last year than they are this year. Connecticut eliminated Indiana in 2 straight games, 2-0 in that series. I believe it's a best of 3 series in the WNBA in those early rounds of the playoffs. So that was a playoff revenge spot for Indiana. They still had not gotten revenge against the Connecticut team that eliminated them last year. So that was a huge game. And you could see how emotional they got. I mean, you could just see this picture right here, basically, with Indiana here. And Indiana is also going to be up against Minnesota in the whatever they call it, the Commissioner's Cup, the stupid in-season tournament final. So this game is not one of the in-season tournament games. So I think that makes this game even less important slightly. And the fact that that win puts Indiana in the Commissioner's Cup final against the Lynx, like that was a much, much, much bigger game than this is. And now Indiana's having to travel. Yeah, they're going out on the road, and I usually do like to say, well, the first game of a road trip, you usually focus. But I don't think so when you're coming off 2 big games in a row like that. And they do have Las Vegas up next, even though Vegas has been playing really poorly this year. Vegas is still like one of the named teams in the WNBA and known as being a good team. I mean, they won the championship a couple years ago. They were one of the top teams last year. They've lost Plum, but they are still a good team, and that's a huge game, especially if Asia Wilson is back for Vegas in that game. So I think Indiana's in a sandwich spot here, in my opinion. I think they might overlook this game. And Golden State just lost to Dallas. I mean, Dallas only had 1 win on the season. I think Dallas is going to improve a little bit as the season goes on, as they get some chemistry there with Beckers there, and as she was like their top draft pick, whatever. So I think Golden State, I mean, they're probably going to bounce back here. And Golden State has actually been decent at home. At least they're 3-2 at home. They do have wins against Seattle, Las Vegas, crushing Las Vegas with Asia Wilson there still. And they beat LA, I think, at one point. No, they didn't. They lost to LA, excuse me. They beat LA on the road. Their other home win was against Washington, and then they did lose at home to Minnesota. So they've actually been pretty good at home. So I think Golden State's in much more of a bounce back spot after kind of an embarrassing loss to Dallas. So I will recommend grabbing the points with Golden State in the WNBA there. That is going to be the play there. JC, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out late night. I'm going to try to get this done, man. This is late night. I got to get some sleep. Hopefully we can get this done. Major League Baseball, you have a giant Major League Baseball card here, man. Not just the San Francisco Giants, but I am not happy about it because usually Thursday you get very few games, but like every fucking team is playing. And not only that, but there are multiple doubleheaders. Come on, man. All right, it's getaway day as well, so a lot of teams are going to be headed out on the road after this week. Get a lot of afternoon baseball here, starting at 12:40 p.m. Eastern with Minnesota and Cincinnati. Cincinnati is on the verge of pulling off a sweep here, but they do have St. Louis up next. So Cincinnati does have a fairly big divisional series coming up against St. Louis, who Cincinnati actually just surpassed them in the standings, but that's probably going to be a big series. And Cincinnati, I think, lost a series to St. Louis earlier in the season. Cincinnati's won 4 games in a row. Could take Minnesota maybe a little bit lightly here after beating them twice. So situationally, it does kind of look like a spot for Minnesota. Today's game was rain short, and we had a ton of rain today all over the place, man, as we had Cincinnati, Chicago, 2 games in Chicago, Cincinnati, and Detroit all got postponed due to rain. These games are over, by the way. Houston, San Diego, LA. I I haven't refreshed the page. I could. It's bugging me. I'll actually refresh it. Update, man. All right, there we go. So anyway, Minnesota-Cincinnati only had a 6-inning game because it was rain shortened, so it was considered to be an official game. What that does mean is that the bullpens are rested, so that's something to take into account coming into this game, where we're going to have Chris Paddock pitching for Minnesota. His numbers have become all of a sudden mediocre just because he got absolutely wrecked in his most recent game. 4.3 ERA, 1.23 whip. His numbers were a lot better than that until he just got blasted, and now his road ERA is up to 5.27. So now the question is, how much stock do we put into one game where he got annihilated at Houston, gave up 8 runs in 4 innings, 12 hits, 8 earned runs, 9 runs, only had 1 strikeout, so he really fell apart in that game after he had been pitching well basically all season. He got hammered in his first game, didn't have a great second game, which was also against Houston, interestingly. So 2 of his worst 3 starts of the season have been against Houston. But from that Houston game onward, he had given up 3 or fewer runs in every start until this game against Houston. But Paddock's 29, man. If you look at his career stats, I think you had to expect some regression out of him. I mean, last year he had a 4.99 ERA and 1.39 whip in 17 starts. So I don't think he's as good as he had been pitching so far. So I think the regression was in order. I think he's in bad form right now. So my opinion would be that I don't really want Paddock here. I don't want Minnesota here. Paddock having to pitch at this Great American Ballpark, too, which is a difficult ballpark to pitch in. Paddock only has 12 at-bats against Cincinnati's lineup, but they have hit 333 off him with an 833 OPS, so he hasn't exactly stifled the Cincinnati hitters that he's seen either. So I don't love Paddock coming into this one. Nick Martinez is going to be pitching for Cincinnati. He's got a 3.92 ERA, 1.22 whip. Those are pretty good numbers. He's been better at home, significantly so, with a 2.52 home ERA, which is pretty good. But he hasn't been very good in the month of June, with a 5.74 ERA across 3 starts and a 13-5 strikeout walk ratio. Granted, he faced the Cubs and Detroit on the road and Arizona, so those are not easy opponents to face, and he did do well in the home start against Arizona. So I might actually give him a little bit of a pass for those bad road starts because he is now stepping down in class to face Minnesota, who's not as good of an offense as any of those 3, and he has been better at home. Up against Minnesota, his numbers aren't good, though, in 51 at-bats. Does have an 11-0 strikeout walk ratio, which is pretty good. But he's allowed a 314 average and 882 OPS. That's not good. But if you dig into this a little bit deeper, it's really all Correa who's done all the damage. He's 9 for 14 with 3 doubles, 3 home runs. So almost all the damage has been Correa. So if you want to look for player props there, hits plus runs plus RBIs is what I always recommend, because that way the walks don't completely cancel out and you could still get a run or an RBI off of it. So I would look at Correa there, as he does really well against Martinez. But other than that, Martinez actually does well against Minnesota, even though the total, the overall numbers don't look good, but it's being skewed by Correa. So I actually think that Cincinnati probably has the better of the matchup here, even though I think Minnesota's bullpen is a little bit better. Money is coming in on Cincinnati as it stands right now as a small -113 favorite. 83% of the cash on Cincinnati, 61% of tickets on Minnesota. So the public, for whatever reason, still likes Minnesota here. I'm not entirely sure why. I mean, they actually have the worst record right now, too. Minnesota, pretty poor road record as well, and Cincinnati, decent at home. So I would lean to Cincinnati there, and if you don't like the bullpen aspect of this, where Minnesota does have the better bullpen, both bullpens are rested. First 5 innings for the Reds might make sense as well to just go with the starting pitching matchup. Not going to give out a play on that, but that is the lean. Andrew, what's up, man? Thanks for hanging out. I have not become a Florida man, but I will be temporarily that. Anaheim and the Yankees, and this is getting a little bit crazy, man, as the Yankees have lost 6 games in a row, scoring 0 in 3 straight games, and I think somebody pointed out this morning, 29 innings without scoring, and I guess they didn't score in the first inning either, and then they finally scored on a Chisholm home run, so Yankees went 30 innings without scoring, which is insane, especially given the fact that the Yankees have one of the best offenses in baseball. Seems like something is wrong, though, because the Yankees have not been able to hit some bad pitchers. Like they faced Kohanowitz today, and they didn't even do well against him. They're not hitting against bad Anaheim bullpen. I don't know what's going on. Anaheim rolled out a bunch of their relief pitchers who are not very good pitchers, and they were able to hold the Yankees silent and finish off the game and win the game. Absolutely crazy. Both bullpens got fairly used in this game, so the bullpens, I think you kind of want to fade the bullpens coming into this game. And I don't love the starting pitcher for the Angels here, Tyler Anderson, 4.44 ERA, 1.37 WHIP. That is not good. His numbers have gotten pretty bad after he was off to a good start this season, but I told you he was going to regress, man. I mean, he's 35, and if you look at his career stats, you knew that he could not keep up what he was doing. He's been way worse on the road as well, 6.31 road ERA, so that's not good. He actually pitched well at home against the Yankees last time out, 6 innings, allowed 1 run. Only 3 strikeouts. But, he's a mediocre strikeout pitcher, I guess. He actually has had a good strikeout rate in June with 15 strikeouts, but he has 5 walks. He's allowed 1 run per inning in 14 innings, 24 hits allowed. So he's been getting really jacked up this month. And he faced Boston on the road. I mean, okay, that's a pretty difficult assignment there. The Red Sox hit pretty well in Fenway, but Seattle and Baltimore, not great offenses, and Anderson struggled in all of those starts. So he hasn't been good this month, even though his strikeout rate is high. 9 ERA, too many hits allowed, way too many hits. He's just not pitching well anymore. And because the Yankees just saw him, I think the Yankees are going to do better against him this time out. However, Anderson does have 112 at-bats against the Yankees, which is a large sample. And he's held them to a 205 batting average lifetime and 658 OPS. So he's actually done pretty well against the Yankees, even though a 30-17 strikeout walk ratio is real ugly. I mean, that is bad. But the rest of his stats against the Yankees are actually quite good. So very interesting there. I mean, if you want a player prop there, Goldschmidt is 6 for 8 with a couple doubles and 7 walks. So he might give you something there. Other than that, the Yankees actually don't hit him that well, though. So it's kind of an interesting, it's one of those games where you analyze the pitching matchup and you see, Anderson is definitely a fade pitcher right now, and I think the Yankees should do better against him this time, but historically, in a large sample size, he does do well against them. Carlos Rodon is pitching for the Yankees. He's having a good season, 3.01 ERA, 0.99 WHIP. His splits are almost equal, so he doesn't really pitch better or worse at home or on the road this season so far. He's hit a rough patch. It was really 2 starts against the Red Sox where he didn't do that well, and the Red Sox actually have decent offensive numbers against him. So I think you might give Rodon a pass on that because, again, I don't think he matches up specifically well against, or particularly well against the Red Sox specifically. They have good historical numbers against him for the most part. So I think maybe we give him a little bit of a pass for that. And all the way up into those 2 starts, he was pitching quite well. So I kind of expect Rodon to actually bounce back in this game. And against Anaheim, he has good numbers in 70 at-bats, 26-9 strikeout walk ratio, 214 average, 675 OPS. So I would give Rodon the nod over Tyler Anderson here. I think the Yankees do have the bullpen edge as well. They just have the better bullpen. Neither bullpen is rested, but Angels' bullpen is worse and in the worst rest spot. Yankees obviously have the way better offense as well, at least if they're going to start hitting again. At some point, I think they will. But I think, again, you're laying too much of a price for the Yankees, though. Up from minus 215 to minus 262, though. So a lot of money has come in early on the Yankees. 85% of tickets, 97% of the cash. Again, I do think they bounce back. I don't know, man. I mean, how do you play this game if you do like the Yankees? I mean, I guess you probably, again, I would say maybe go over the Yankees team total, even though I know that hasn't worked out yet, like for a while. I mean, the Yankees have not been scoring as of late, but at some point I think they're going to unload, and it might be in this game against Tyler Anderson. Even though, again, I don't want to buck his large historical sample against the Yankees, though, so I'm not going to give out a play on this, but I do think the Yankees are going to win the game. I mean, they're a huge favorite for a reason. You could lay a run line with them as well, but I think maybe the Yankees to score above whatever their team total is might be the way to look in this game. Even if you're probably going to have to go over about 6, though, which looks crazy because they haven't scored anything recently, but I think it might happen here. Rodon did also face Anaheim, by the way, not that long ago in that same series. It might have been the same game. up against Anderson. He shut them out for 7 innings and struck out 10 and didn't walk anybody. So he dominated them, but it does mean Anaheim, being recently familiar with him, might be able to hit him a little bit better here. So I could see an argument for the over just because I think both offenses, having recently seen those pitchers, could do better in this one. And the total just looks unreasonably high with a 9.5. Actually, it's 9, I guess, but it's up from 8.5 to 9 juice to the over. So it is going up, even though we see 73% of tickets on the over, 62% of the cash on the under. The initial move was up towards the over, but the money looks like it is coming in on the under, so it's hard to read the market on that. But I wouldn't really want to fade Rodon in this spot. I just think he actually legitimately dominates Anaheim. So I think some way of playing the Yankees is probably the best way to play that game. Justin, what's up, man? I almost thought that said Hawaii because of the aloha. I'm like, you're not in Hawaii. You're in Missouri. That's right, in misery. All right. So Yankees over their team total probably would be the way that I lean in that game. But again, you're asking them to probably cover like a 5.5 or 6 there. But I think against Anderson and a bad Anaheim bullpen, they should be able to actually finally do it and finally actually hit for once. At least they busted out of their scoreless slump tonight. I would like to see the Yankees keep losing, though, as a Red Sox fan, Yankee hater. It would be nice. Colorado is on the verge of potentially another sweep. They've won 4 games in a row. They just swept Miami not that long ago. Now they might sweep Washington. Miami and Washington, embarrassing, man. I mean, not doing well at all. This Colorado team has been historically bad, and they're starting to do a little bit better, but they're doing it against bad teams. But, man, I mean, Washington on the verge of being embarrassed here. You got to think Washington's going to want to show up and try to avoid being swept in a 4-game series. Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, the Red Sox, yeah, I mean, they're going to have to turn it around and do something, man. Oh, sorry, I still have the WNBA banner up there. Yeah, they're going to have to turn around and do something, man, the Red Sox. I mean, it has not been good recently. For Colorado and Washington, I mean, as I keep pointing out, both teams have bad bullpens, so that's something to obviously keep in mind. Rockies used more of their bullpen today because it was a close game, so they had to use their better relief pitchers to save the game today. So the Rockies bullpen actually probably in a little bit of a worse spot after Washington kind of rested some of their relievers today. Dollander is pitching for the Rockies. Bad numbers overall. This is his rookie season, so you can give him a little bit of a break, but 6.57 ERA, 1.54 whip, not good. He's been better outside of Coors Field, though. I mean, Coors Field, not an easy environment to pitch in, but he's had a more reasonable 4.5 ERA on the road, so he has been better on the road. He did go 6 innings in his last start at Atlanta. Still walked 3 guys, though, so I worry about his walk numbers here. He gave up 3 earned runs in that one. It was a decent start for him, but over this month, 7.5 ERA, 8-7 strikeout walk ratio. But the previous 2 starts, he failed to even make it past 3 innings, and one of those was on the road against Miami, which is not a good sign. With a 3-1 strikeout walk ratio, or 1-3 strikeout walk ratio, which is not good. So Dollander, I don't think, is really pitching very well right now. And he's already faced Washington this year, so that's another disadvantage because a lot of times a rookie young pitcher like this has an advantage the first time they face an opposing lineup because the lineup doesn't know what to expect. But Washington already faced them earlier this year, and they didn't even do bad against them then. In 14 at-bats, they have a 429 average off him, 1,357 OPS. So Dollander might do pretty poorly in this game, man. Washington already having faced him once, so I think it doesn't look very good. Trevor Williams is pitching for Washington. He's got awful stats as well, 5.71 ERA, 1.43 whip. He is better at home. I thought he was better at home, but I guess not anymore. 6.23 ERA. I think he had a better home ERA not that long ago, but he's actually now worse at home. 6.23 ERA. He's had 3 home starts in a row in June, and it has not been good with a 5.79 ERA. A 9-2 strikeout walk ratio isn't that bad, but he's given up 9 runs off of 17 hits, 9 earned runs off of 17 hits in 14 innings, and he's only gone past 5 innings once against a pretty weak Miami team, so that's not a good sign for Williams either. Not good. Numbers against the Rockies, mediocre at best. 52 at-bats, pretty big sample size. 269 average is okay, but a 783 OPS, a little bit high as well. So with that being said, I don't like either starting pitcher. I don't like the bullpens, obviously. I think you got to look over in this game. We do see 62% of tickets on the under right now, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. 100% of the cash on the over. I doubt that that's the actual number. We've seen the total drop a little bit from 9.5 to 9, but I think the over is the way to look. And the books have posted a high total again for a reason. I mean, when a total is that high, it's that high for a reason. So I think over is probably the way to look in that one. Pittsburgh at Detroit. This is now going to be a doubleheader, and I'm a little bit mad about this because it's a doubleheader now. A lot of times the pitching matchup will get shifted around. So Pittsburgh and Detroit, they kept the starting pitchers who were going to pitch today. So I analyzed this matchup this morning. So maybe I should go into less detail here because I already analyzed Heaney versus Skubal this morning. But man, Paul Skeens is pitching the second game of the doubleheader. Imagine if they shifted this around so that it was Skeens against Skubal, the two SK guys, the two of the best pitchers in baseball going up against each other. That would be something that would get a lot of eyes on it, I think, but that's not what's going to happen. Heaney is up against Skubal, which I analyzed this earlier today, as I said. My opinion was that you wanted to lean to, I thought the best way to play this was Pittsburgh under their team total, even though Pittsburgh, you're looking at probably asking them to score 2 or fewer runs if you do that. But I think it might happen, man, because they're up against Skubal. I mean, I don't think I have to go into it much, right? I mean, Skubal's just dominant, 1.99 ERA, 0.81 whip. He's very good either at home or away. It doesn't even matter. He's just been excellent all around all season. If you want more detailed analysis about how dominant he is, you can look at my video from this morning. Against Pittsburgh, he's dominated them too in 23 at-bats, 217 average, 467 OPS, so really weak hitting stats against them. Skubal obviously has the upper hand, which is why Detroit is a huge favorite. That plus Detroit's really good at home. Detroit has the better offense. Detroit has the better bullpen as well, and now we're looking at rested bullpens. So Detroit gets all their relievers available here. Andrew Heaney has been good this season for the most part, 3.33 ERA, 1.11 whip with those repeated numbers there. He's been a little bit worse on the road, 3.72 ERA on the road, which I pointed out this morning. In good form this month, though, with a 15-0 strikeout walk ratio and 3.06 ERA in starts against San Diego, Philly, and the Cubs. So he faced good offenses there. 2 of those 3 were on the road. So Heaney is actually in good form right now. And his numbers against Detroit are a little bit hard to gauge. 22 at bats, small sample size, 227 average, but a high 883 OPS because they do have 2 home runs off him, Torres and Rogers. But I think those are fluke-ish, so I would more lean to the 227 average as being the better indicator. So I do think it's going to be a low-scoring game, but the books have thrown a 6.5 total out there, and I never like to go under the 6.5, as I continuously mention. It does look like it might be at 7, actually, with juice on the under. So I think a full game under is okay. There's no way I would lay a price with Detroit at minus 300, minus 310. I mean, they are the better team. They have the advantages here, obviously, but that line is just way too high. So I think, again, under in the game with both starting pitchers doing pretty well, and now with rested bullpens, or Pittsburgh to go under their team total and just take Skubal plus Detroit's relievers that might get into the game later in the game might be the way to go, and just go for Pittsburgh under their team total. But again, it's going to be a little bit risky probably because you're probably going to be asking them to score 2 runs or something like that. But that's the way that I kind of broke this down this morning. And of course, as I was just about to say, I usually do not like to go under 6.5 because I always like to get the better of the 7 in baseball because it is a key number and that it breaks a 3-3 tie. Let's talk about both. Let's go with the doubleheaders here, man, because there's not much to say about the second game of the doubleheader in that series right now. Paul Skeens is pitching. Detroit is undecided, so they're probably going with a bullpen game, but we don't know what Detroit's going to do in the first game. It's probably likely that Skubal is going to get them most of the way through that game, so probably Detroit's not going to use many of their relief pitchers in that game, so we're probably going to see Detroit with still a fairly rested bullpen coming into this one and using a rested bullpen to go up against Skeens. Pittsburgh is likely to be they might be likely to be a favorite in this game, though, because Paul Skeens gets a lot of respect in the market right now. We don't see the numbers yet, but he's been awesome this year. 1.78 ERA, 0.85 whip. He just can't get any run support, man. And he's actually been better on the road with a 1.07 road ERA, which is insane. Only went 5 innings in his last start at Wrigley Field, though. I mean, the Cubs hit pretty well, and he still shut them out for 5 innings. So he was just inefficient a little bit with his pitches, but he's still dominating. Has a .44 ERA across 3 starts in June with a 20-4 strikeout walk ratio. So I'm expecting Skeens to do well. Against Detroit, they have 12 at-bats against them. They only have 1 hit and 6 strikeouts and no extra base hits and no walks. A .083 average and 167 OPS. So we're expecting Skeens will do well in that game. I mean, I'm not going out on a limb there. If Detroit does indeed save most of their bullpen for this game, it's a tough call, but I could maybe see going under in this one. But the books are probably going to put a pretty low total out on this game, too, because it's a Skeens game. So hard to gauge, but that's what's going on in that game. Working around the minor leagues. My autism on pitchers is awesome. Oh, thank you. Well, you can't just go based on the pitching, though. You have to dig a little bit more. I'm still old school, so I like to look at a pitcher's whip, and I like to look at their strikeout walk ratio. I think those are really good indicators of how good they are. You can also look at their ground ball versus fly ball rate, because ground ball pitchers tend to be more effective as well, because they give up fewer home runs for the most part, which I mentioned with Framber Valdez as part of that reason why I liked him tonight. He didn't even do actually that well tonight. He walked a lot of guys in that A's game, but he still did well enough to get that win. I don't know if he got the win himself, but good enough for Houston to win the game. I think he was probably still in when Houston took the lead, and they never surrendered it. So, all right. What else was I going to say? I don't even know, man. But yeah, all right. Next up, we have St. Louis and the White Sox. This is a doubleheader, and they have switched. This is actually interesting. So they switched pitchers. Sonny Gray was scheduled to pitch today, and he's not pitching either of these games now for Thursday. So I don't know what they're doing. I guess they're going to push Gray back to Friday maybe, unless he's hurt. I don't know. But it was going to be Gray against Burke in today's game, and now it's Fedde against Burke. So that does change the handicap a bit. Eric Fedde is going to be pitching for St. Louis. He has a 3.65 ERA, 1.28 whip. This is going to be in the first of the 2 games. So we do at least have rested bullpens now because the teams didn't play today, but neither bullpen is good. I mean, St. Louis, not great, and Chicago White Sox, really bad bullpen for the most part. Fedde, though, I mean, his whip is a little bit too high. Pretty good ERA. He's been better on the road, which is where he's going to be here, 3.13 road ERA. So his home road splits are decent for this. This month hasn't been that great, even though he's a 2.7 ERA this month. A 12-8 strikeout walk ratio is not very good. He's coming off giving up 3 runs against Milwaukee, although he did have a 5-1 strikeout walk ratio in that game. So his strikeout walk ratio was actually better in that game than it was in the prior 2, even though he gave up fewer runs in the prior 2. He's hard to gauge, man, but right now I'm kind of about to say that he's just not pitching that well because he's walking too many guys. So I don't particularly like Fedde here. Only 2 hitters on the White Sox have ever seen him before, but they are 5 for 17 off him. Rojas and Tauchman, 5 for 17, 294 average, 1 walk in there as well, 1 strikeout, 627 OPS. So overall, maybe Fedde does have a little bit of an upper hand just because the rest of the White Sox lineup has actually never faced him before. So a lot of times when a lineup hasn't seen a pitcher before, they tend to do a little bit worse, but I think it has more of an advantage for the pitcher when the pitcher is like really young, so there's like no game film on the guy when they just come up to the majors. Fedde's been around forever, but the other problem with that is that Fedde was on the White Sox, I'm pretty sure, so Fedde is known to the White Sox, so he's not going to be a complete unknown to them. And this actually makes the handicap even more interesting because the White Sox dealt him away. I'm assuming that because he pitched for St. Louis last year, he faced them, and maybe he didn't because he was only on St. Louis for part of the year last year. So let me see. Did he actually face the White Sox? No. He got acquired here. He did not face the White Sox. Of course, it would be an interleague game, so it's kind of unlikely, right? And he has not faced the White Sox this year, presumably. So this is actually, I wasn't thinking about this. This becomes a more interesting handicap because Fedde gets to face the team that got rid of him. And a lot of times when a pitcher faces that team that got rid of him for the first time, the pitcher gets pumped up because they want to stick it to that team. So Fedde might actually pitch well because the White Sox ditched him last year. So that is something to consider, and maybe Fedde does get pumped up here for this. I'm not a modern man with a FIP. I'm not fipping around here. I'm fapping, but I'm not fipping. I don't like the advanced analytics, man. I'm sorry. I'm old school. I don't like it. That XERA, expected ERA, FIP, whatever the hell else there is, XFIP, I think is something. I don't even know, man. I don't look at it. I like somewhat peruse Baseball Savant, and I look at it, I'm like, what are these? I'm like, what are these guys even talking about, man? Because, like, I could tell, like, looking at barrel rate and whatever, which is basically, like, how hard the contact is off of the guy. I'm like, whatever, man. Like, you can kind of tell, like, how hard the contact is just based on how many hits and home runs the guy gives up. I'm going with the old school stats, man. It's worked for me doing baseball. Baseball's been one of my better sports, and I've done it for 18 years, so I'm just going to continue doing it that way. I'm old. I'm an old school baseball handicapper here, man. So, yeah, and then Baseball Savant shows you, like, ground ball rate and whatever, but you can tell that just looking at ESPN's stats. Oh, this guy has, induced this many ground balls. Okay, same number. Sean Burke pitching. I handicapped him earlier this morning because he was supposed to pitch today. He's pitching for the White Sox, 4.71 ERA, 1.44 WHIP. He's been better at home with a 3.68 ERA, so that's not too bad, but he hasn't been good lately. In 2 starts in June, 7.59 ERA. Actually, mostly just his last start was bad, so my apologies to Burke. He had one really bad start at Houston, but that's a little bit damning because Houston's not really good offense. So he only went 3 2/3 and allowed 7 earned runs there. Still had a 4-to-1 strikeout walk ratio, though. So strikeout walk ratio, 9-2 in June is not that bad. So I don't know what we're going to get out of Burke here, and I'm pretty sure St. Louis has never faced him before. So a little bit of an edge, I guess, to Burke just because the opposing lineup hasn't faced him before. And with rested bullpens, I mean, does that mean we really want to look towards an under in this game? I mean, that might be the lean in this game, to be honest. Might be to the under. It totals down from 8.5 to 8, basically. White Sox offense, of course, can struggle, and some unfamiliarity with both offenses with the pitcher, so it might actually make sense. St. Louis is up from -135 to -140 on the money line as well. But Fedde facing his former team is kind of an interesting part of the handicap there, so he might pitch a little bit better for that reason, which also is kind of indicative of the under. Milwaukee, Chicago got postponed, but they're not playing a doubleheader on Thursday because they're division opponents. So the doubleheader is actually going to be like in August or something I saw. So the makeup game got rescheduled all the way out in August. The starting pitching matchup here is the same one that I handicapped today. And it wound up being a no play, obviously, because the game didn't happen. But now I'm kind of questioning my handicap on it. Misiorowski is pitching from Milwaukee, and I think there is some value on him before people like find out that he's actually really good. He's made 1 major league start so far. He's a rookie, and as I said, he throws really hard. He's throwing hard fastballs, man. In his first game against St. Louis, I believe he actually threw, like, I don't know, something like the fastest 13 fastballs that the Brewers have thrown this year. He threw all in that one start or something like that. Like, he's reaching like 100 miles an hour at some points, even like innings into games. I mean, that's what he was doing in AAA. He has like really, really crazy velocity. Problem is his command has really been kind of his issue, where he's issued some walks. And that happened in his first game. He had a 5-inning no-hit performance against St. Louis, and I think he was going to go further into the game. He'd gotten 81 pitches deep, and it seemed like they were going to leave him in further, but he had like a leg cramp or something and kind of fell off the mound weird. So they took him out, but pitched well, obviously, even though he did walk 4 guys, which is the one concern. But other than that, it was a great first appearance from him, really, against St. Louis. Not a great offense, but decent enough that this is a pretty impressive start. 5 strikeouts, no hits allowed. I mean, that's pretty good. So Misiorowski, yeah, he's stepping up in class to face the Cubs, who are one of the best offenses in baseball, but he's a really good pitcher, and the Cubs have not seen him before. So he does have an edge here. He's up against Tyon, who is certainly very familiar to Milwaukee, as he's been in this division for a long portion of his career. He was on Pittsburgh, then the Yankees for a couple of years. I forgot he was on Pittsburgh. I remember him on the Yankees, and now he's on the Cubs. But, yeah, Milwaukee's pretty familiar with him because he's been in this division a lot. He's been pretty good this year, though. 3.48 ERA, 0.98 whip. Any whip below 1 is good. 2.72 home ERA. I'm reiterating what I said this morning, though, in this game. The Cubs have won 5 games in a row that he started, and he hasn't allowed more than 2 earned runs in any of them, so he's in good form right now. 2.29 ERA in June. He's got at least 6 1/3 in every one of those starts. Innings pitched, 14-4 strikeout walk ratio this month. Only 11 hits allowed in 19 2/3 innings pitched. Now, the one thing that you have to worry about is that he's faced weak offenses. The most difficult one was at Detroit. Still pretty impressive, going 7 innings, allowing 1 earned run against Detroit. But he faced Miami twice here, the Rockies at home, Cincinnati at home, not that good of an offense at Pittsburgh. So he is stepping up in class a little bit to face Milwaukee. Better offense than all of those offenses. And they have a lot of at-bats against him, 133 at-bats. But he's been decent against them. 27-10 strikeout walk ratio, 256 average allowed, 714 OPS. So, as I said this morning, I thought Taillon did have a decent edge in this game. I think Misiorowski has the edge, though, because of the unfamiliarity aspect to it. And now Milwaukee, both bullpens get rested, so it's interesting because the reason I went with the first 5-inning wager this morning was because that was the play that I gave out on the show for this game, was because the Cubs taxed their bullpen big time the prior game, and Milwaukee's bullpen just isn't good. So I wanted to take them out of the equation, but now that they didn't play today, the bullpens are rested. So that kind of changes the equation a little bit, and I might actually say under in the full game might make more sense in this one now with rested bullpens, even though Milwaukee's bullpen isn't that good. Although, actually, hold on a minute. Cubs are now up from -108 to -110. Now we have a problem here because it looks like Misiorowski is not pitching. It looks like it's Freddie Peralta. Oh, yeah, that's why I have Freddie Peralta up here. So, actually, Freddie Peralta might actually be pitching this game now. So, Misiorowski might actually be getting pushed back or something. Peralta is pitching well this year, 2.6 ERA, 1.13 whip. So he's been good. He's been a bit worse on the road, though, the 3.86 ERA. So I guess I have to handicap him now. He's in good form. 2 ERA in June over 3 starts. Went exactly 6 innings in all of them. 18-6 strikeout walk ratio. He's pitched pretty well. Stepping up a little bit in class to face the Cubs, though. They're a better offense than St. Louis, San Diego, and Cincinnati. So he's stepping up in class, but he has good numbers against the Cubs in a huge 129 at-bat sample size. 47-16 strikeout walk ratio is too many walks, but it's a high strikeout rate, and he's held him to a really impressively low one, 171 average and 588 OPS. So Freddie Peralta actually has done pretty well against the Cubs, so I still lean under in this game, man, in some way or another. If you still want to try to take the bullpens out just because you don't like Milwaukee's bullpen, Cubs bullpen has started doing a lot better recently. Maybe a first 5 under still makes sense. And you got to pay attention to the weather at Wrigley Field because the wind can have a dramatic effect. So we'll see what happens in that game. But, yeah, I mean, I still think the under is probably the way to look because I like Peralta, even though he's very familiar to the Cubs. He's in good form, and his numbers are good against the Cubs. Do I like the Reds' money line tomorrow? I mentioned that, actually. That was the first game up on the schedule here. I mentioned that feels like hours ago at this point. Yes, I did say that, yes, I lean to the Reds on the money line or first 5-inning money line just because I do think Minnesota has a slight bullpen edge there. But, yes, overall, I do think Martinez has the upper hand over Paddock in that one. Given how the matchup pans out and whatever. If you go back to the beginning of the show, I broke that one down as well. But yes, long story short, slight lean to the Reds. Yes, it's not a play that I'm recommending, but yes. And first 5-inning might be a better way to look at that. First 5-inning money line. St. Louis, I'm going to wait to talk about St. Louis White Sox game 2 because because that's my other play that I'm going to recommend. So, yes, sir. Don People will use you, though. P just K-O who is. Thank you, sir. I'm going to call you the Grinch, though, because I don't know what that what that name is even saying, man. Is that the Jamaican patois or something? All right, Kansas City at Texas. Man, I got a lot of games to break down. What is going on here? Kansas City at Texas. Yeah, I mean, Texas has lost both games so far, so Kansas City is on the verge of a sweep here. So Texas might step it up a little bit for that reason. Kansas City, who do they have up next? Let me see. San Diego. I don't know that that's really a look-ahead spot because it's an interleague game. I don't know. They have to go play San Diego after this, so not really something I would consider to be a look-ahead. But Kansas City might take their foot off the gas a little bit because they've been really good in the series against Texas. In this game today, both bullpens, I think, got used a little bit here. Yeah, so both bullpens, pretty good bullpens, but Kansas City used all their best relievers to finish the game off. I gave it out as a lean on the show this morning, Kansas City. Maybe I should have made it an actual play because I liked Bubic against Corbin. Bubic didn't do that well, but he did still outpitch Corbin in the game a little bit. Both bullpens got a little bit used. Both bullpens are pretty good, though, and both offenses are not that good. Michael Wacha is going to be pitching for the Royals here. 3.38 ERA, 1.23 whip on the season. He's having a pretty decent season. Pretty consistent for them, although he's been a little bit worse on the road. 4.41 road ERA. He hasn't been that good this month, though. They've lost 2 games in a row with him on the hill, and it was against the White Sox and the A's at home. That's not a good sign, man, because the A's offense, I mean, they're not really that good on the road. White Sox certainly don't have a good offense. So the fact that he has a 6.35 ERA across those 2 starts, not a great sign, man. So I don't think he's in great form right now. 10-3 strikeout walk ratio isn't that bad, but he gave up 4 home runs there, so he's getting hit hard right now. So I don't know that I would want to jump on Wacha here. Against the Rangers, his numbers aren't that good either. In 58 at-bats, 17-4 strikeout walk ratio is good, but 293 average allowed and 753 OPS is a bit on the higher side. So this matchup actually doesn't look very good for Wacha. So might have us leaning Texas a little bit. The problem is Sean Armstrong is the listed starter for Texas. Great name for a pitcher, by the way, Armstrong. He's got good numbers, 2.9 ERA, 0.97 whip. The problem is he's a relief pitcher, so he's going to be an opener here. I did make a 3-inning appearance against the White Sox last time out and basically allowed nothing against them. No hits, no walks, 5 strikeouts, so that's pretty good. And Texas won the last 3 games he appeared in. And actually, they've won 7 of the last 9 games that he's appeared in. Texas has won. That's a decent sign, but this is going to be a Texas bullpen game. Yeah, so Armstrong is probably going to give them about 2-3 innings, I would guess. And then they're going to turn it over to the bullpen, which they used a little bit of their bullpen today, although some of their better relievers are still available. So if you like Texas, you're going to have to like them doing a bullpen game here. And I don't see the numbers on this game yet. Let me see. Do we have the market numbers, the odds on this yet? Let me see. Where's this game at? Where is it? It's American League. Why don't I see? Oh, that's Interleague. What am I doing? I'm an idiot. Yeah, there it is. The market, we don't have any odds on this yet at the books that are being tracked. I mean, maybe some of the books do have it out. Could look at Action Network, actually, real quick. Let me see. Even though I don't really want to show you stuff that I paid for, but it looks like the Rangers are a small money line favorite. I don't see, actually, I could switch to the total. What's the total going to be? Total's not out yet, but it looks like Rangers are slated to be a small money line favorite. I might lean to the Rangers slightly there because I don't like Wacha's matchup potential here. And Kansas City used some of their better relief pitchers. But again, Texas is going with a bullpen game, so their bullpen's going to be in the game earlier. So it's a little bit difficult to gauge. That's a stay away for me as well. First 3 innings or first 5? Yeah, if you want to go, I usually just think of it as, the starting pitching matchup. Basically, if I just want to take the bullpens out of the whole thing and not have to deal with the bullpens, I go the first 5 innings. First 3 is getting, really granular. I never really do that. There are a lot of crazy ways you can play baseball games. So you can play first 7 innings as well. Arizona at Toronto. I actually am going to recommend a play in this game, which is on the Toronto money line. But let me just see what the number is that we have on this here real quick. What's the number that we have on this? Looks like you're having to pay a little bit of a price for it. It's at minus 140, which is right around the threshold where I would switch to maybe looking towards a split bet where you go half run line and half money line, or you could lay a -1 run line and get it down to probably about -110 on that at DraftKings if you want to do that. And that way, if Toronto wins by exactly 1, you'll push. So it's not like the worst thing. You just get your money back. But I think money line at minus 140 is okay. I like Toronto in this one. If we look at the market read here on Toronto, the money looks like it is coming in on them, even though it dropped from minus 135 to minus 130 on the money line. I don't think the money line is actually that low right now. 70% of tickets, 91% of the cash on Toronto. So at least early, it looks like the cash is on Toronto. And I just like this matchup, man. Even though Arizona is on the verge of getting swept. So normally I would say, well, I tend to like to look to play on teams that are trying to avoid the sweep. But in this case, I don't really think so. Toronto also does not have a big series up next. They're playing the White Sox, so I don't think that's really a look ahead at all. And I think the way the game played out today is going to set up decently for Toronto because both bullpens had similar usage today, but Arizona's bullpen is the way worse bullpen. Toronto's bullpen has actually been pretty good as the season has progressed. So I like Toronto's bullpen better. Arizona has one of the worst bullpens in the league. So Toronto, right away, they have a bullpen edge. Arizona does have the better offense, but I think that's going to be countered by the fact that I do not like the starting pitching matchup for Arizona. They have Ryan Nelson on the mound, 4.14 ERA, 1.14 whip. So his whip is good, but I mean, if you look at his career stats, you'll see why I don't think that's going to continue. He's still pretty young, 27, but his career whip is 1.28 and 4.51 ERA. So I expect his numbers to get a little bit worse, although he has actually improved basically year to year. So maybe this improvement is real, but I'm willing to fade him in this spot here. He has a 7.5 road ERA, so that's not a good sign for Ryan Nelson. He has not been good on the road, so that's one problem. This is also an afternoon game. I usually don't look at the the day versus night splits, but he's been awful during the day with an 18.9 ERA. Granted, only a couple of starts, but he got rocked. It was only 6 2/3 innings, and it must have been multiple starts because he allowed 14 earned runs over that span. So he's been awful during the day and bad on the road as well. So the splits don't look good for Nelson. I don't think he's pitching well right now either. I give up 7 runs at Great American Ballpark, which you can kind of give him a pass on that because it is a tough ballpark to pitch in, but he walked 4 guys in that game. The prior start, he only went 4 innings against Washington, although maybe that was a rain-shortened start because I don't know why they took him out after 4 innings because he was pitching well. But over the last 3 starts, he's got 5 or fewer innings in all 3. His strikeout walk ratio on the 2 starts in June is 6-5, which is not good, with a 7.88 ERA, although he did shut out San Diego for 5 innings. Big divisional matchup there, but I don't like it. He's not going deep into games either. They basically have him on like a pitch count of about 80, so they're pulling him around then too. So I'm expecting Arizona's bad bullpen to have to get into this game somewhat early on in this game, probably somewhere near the 5th or 6th inning. At the latest is probably when Arizona's bullpen is going to come into play. Small 20 at-bat sample size for Ryan Nelson against Toronto, but he hasn't pitched very effectively against them. 350 average allowed him 1,000 OPS allowed. So the Toronto hitters have done well against Nelson in that small sample size when they've seen him. And he's up against Gaussman, who I think is definitely the better pitcher of the two. 4.08 ERA, 1.07 whip. Having a decent season. He's been better at home as well with a 3.31 home ERA. So he's got the better splits here as well, though he hasn't been better during the day. So that's maybe a little bit worrisome. But Ryan Nelson's splits are definitely worse. Gaussman, I mean, you do have to worry a little bit about his form right now because he walked 4 guys in his last start, but it was on the road against Philadelphia. So I don't know that I'm as worried about that, as Toronto won 4 straight starts of his prior to that start. And Philadelphia, we know, is a really good offense. A little bit worried about the walks, but his strikeout rate has been high in the month of June. So even though he has a 5.74 ERA in June, which is not good, he at least hasn't allowed more than 4 earned runs in any of the starts. 19-9 strikeout walk ratio. It's way too many walks, yes, but the strikeout rate is good. And I think he might settle down in this game here because he is facing an Arizona team that he actually does well against. In 74 at-bats, a big sample size, 17-5 strikeout walk ratio. I know these are good hitters, but he's actually held them big time in check. He's held them to a 216 lifetime average in that pretty big sample size and 550 OPS. So Gaussman specifically actually has good numbers against him. So I actually like Gaussman to pitch better here, bounce back here. I think you're going to get Arizona's bullpen in the game first, and Arizona's bullpen is the worst of the two. So I think once we get into the bullpens, Toronto also has an edge. So I like Toronto in this game, man. There's a reason why they're favored like this, even though Arizona does have the better offense to some degree. So we're going with Toronto in that game. Cleveland and San Francisco. They're finishing this series. San Francisco's on the verge of getting swept. They've lost 4 games in a row now, as Cleveland got another win today, which is kind of surprising, really. I liked Cleveland in the first game of the series just because San Francisco was coming off that big series against the Dodgers and returning home. But I liked San Francisco to bounce back in the game today, and they did not do it. Actually, maybe I didn't actually, because I think I actually leaned to Cleveland again when I broke it down this morning because Verlander was pitching, and I'm a little bit worried about Verlander, man. But is Cleveland going to complete the sweep, or are they going to be looking ahead? And they're probably not going to be looking ahead to playing against the A's, where they're not going across the bay anymore. They're going over to Sacramento, But it's not really a look ahead. I mean, the A's are not really going to be a team that's going to draw your attention, I don't think. So Cleveland should be focused on this game. Problem is, Cleveland has used a lot of their best relievers, man, in the last couple of games. So their relief staff is really burned out, I think. They've used all their better relievers, so their high-leverage arms are not going to be available in this game here. And the Giants do have the best bullpen in baseball, even though they did use 4 relief pitchers today. They left some of their better relievers, I think, in the bullpen because they were already losing the game. So I think San Francisco, their bullpen sets up better in this game. And I think their starting pitching, on the surface at least, sets up better. Logan Webb is definitely better than Gavin Williams. Gavin Williams not doing particularly well whip-wise. I mean, his ERA looks good, 3.89, but a 1.47 whip tells a different story. He's putting too many guys on base, and that just means he's getting away with it for now, which should not really continue. His ERA is a little bit worse on the road, 4.4. Only went 4 innings in his last start at Seattle and walked 3 guys and only struck out 1 and allowed 2 runs. That's a little bit alarming because it's a good pitching ballpark, so that's not good. And even though he has a 2.7 ERA in the month of June, a 12-7 strikeout walk ratio is not good. So I don't like how Williams sets up in this game that much, man. San Francisco mostly hasn't seen him, though. Only Adames and Yaz have seen him before, but they are 3 for 5 with 2 home runs off of him. So they have lit up Williams in a very small sample size. 600 average, 2,600 OPS. So Williams, even though the rest of the hitters that San Francisco haven't seen him before, doesn't look like Williams is in line for a good start here, man. So I was thinking, all right, I probably want to find a way to play San Francisco. Logan Webb, very good this year. 2.58 ERA, 1.12 whip. He's been better at home, 1.36 ERA at home. All of that's good. He's in good form this month with a 1.71 ERA, 21-3 strikeout walk ratio over the last 3 starts. Granted, he did walk 3 guys in the last start, but he went 7 innings, and it was on the road against the Dodgers, and he actually doesn't do that well against the Dodgers typically, so I'll give him a little bit of a pass for that. I would still say he is in good form. I mean, that was still an impressive performance. And he got a win in that start as well against the Dodgers. So that's all pretty good. Impressive. Looking like we want to jump on Webb here, except for the fact that in 24 at-bats, Cleveland has actually hit him pretty well. 292 average, although somewhat low 708 OPS. 7-0 strikeout walk ratio is good. The OPS is a little bit lower, though, because he hasn't walked anybody, and he's only allowed 1 extra base hit on Nolan Jones' home run. So actually, Webb still does have the upper hand here, in my opinion. So I think we get the better starter and the better bullpen here still, and the better of the matchup. San Francisco is public, though, with 81% of tickets, despite losing the first 2 games of the series. 87% of the cash on them, though, and the line has moved down a little bit from -175 to -167, but the cash percentage looks like it's on San Francisco. I would probably lean to playing San Francisco money line in this game because I think it lines up fine for them. I mean, Cleveland's offense is not that good, even though San Francisco's offense has struggled. It's not that much of a difference there. So that is what I will. I'll give it out as I'll lean to San Francisco on the money line full game is what I was thinking. I'm distracted because I'm trying to figure out, like, oh, yeah, what was the line I'm going to enter in this next game. I'm going to have a play, which I believe is on the St. Louis run line. So they're going to have to win, just like I did with Houston today. They're going to have to win by 1.5 runs here. You can get it at around a pick 'em price, or even better at plus 102. So it's basically like playing a spread bet. But I think this is game 2, by the way. I should edit that. So this is not in the first game, excuse me, not the Fetty game. This is going to be game 2. Let me type that in just to make sure we all know here. Game 2, the evening game, St. Louis run line. So that means I don't care really what happens with the bullpens in the first game, because I think St. Louis, they have the better of the two bullpens, man. And unless St. Louis really has to like destroy their bullpen in game 1, and the White Sox basically don't use any of theirs, I think this is a fine way to go. The White Sox bullpen is the worst of the two. And I like the starting pitching matchup here, man. We're going with the guy who sounds like he should be from Boston, the Irishman, Michael McGreevy. 3.09 ERA, 0.86 whip. He's only 24 years old, man. Came up last year, had 3 starts, 4 appearances, and was good for St. Louis last year. A 1.96 ERA, 0.78 whip, 18-2 strikeout walk ratio was really good, well below 1 hit per inning. Even though his strikeout rate actually wasn't that high, fewer than 1 per inning, but he's been quite effective since St. Louis has brought him up. He's made 2 appearances, 1 start so far this season, and it was against difficult offenses, man, the Mets and the Dodgers. So he is stepping way down in class to face the White Sox, and he did well against the Mets. 5 2/3, 1 hit allowed, no earned runs, 5 strikeouts, 1 walk. So that was pretty good, and he actually did pretty well against the Dodgers, considering they're a really good hitting lineup. He went 6 innings, gave up 4 earned runs, 5 strikeouts, no walks. So I'm impressed by that, and I think because he's stepping down in class, I think he's going to pitch well again here against the White Sox, man, because he's a good young pitcher, and he's facing a White Sox team that I'm pretty sure has never seen him before. So that's also good. And the fact that he threw over 100 pitches, yeah, that worries me a little bit against the Dodgers, because a lot of times when a young guy gets extended like that, sometimes they can do a little bit worse in their next start. But I think the fact that they're trusting him to let him go that many pitches, I think is actually a good thing. And the fact that the White Sox lineup is really, really weak, I think is a good thing as well. So I like McGreevy in this game, and yeah, the White Sox indeed have never seen him before. So again, a good young pitcher has an edge over an opposing lineup like this when that lineup hasn't seen him before, especially a bad offense like the White Sox. And the White Sox have Mike Vasil listed as the starter here. 1.99 ERA, but a 1.28 whip is a little bit higher. Vasil been good at home with a 1.65 ERA. The problem with this is he's only going to be an opener, man. He's got at most 4 innings, which he did in his last outing, and he walked 4 guys in that outing, even though he didn't allow any runs against Texas. 4 strikeouts, 4 walks. So even though he has a 1.64 ERA this month, the White Sox have lost all 3 games he's appeared in, and he has an 8-5 strikeout walk ratio, so that's not good. Too many walks, bad ratio. The team has not done well behind him. And this means it's basically a bullpen game for the White Sox. So is that really what the White Sox want after they are going to have an afternoon game where they have to use probably some of their relief pitchers, and then they're going to have to go with a bullpen game in the evening game after that? So no. I think, yeah, the White Sox are almost certainly going to be into their bullpen earlier than St. Louis is here. So it sets up a lot nicer for St. Louis. So we're going to go full game run line in game 2 there with St. Louis, because I think the fact that it's a bullpen game for the White Sox after they probably have to use some of their relievers in game 1, even though I'm repeating myself, yeah, I think that's it's going to be bad for the White Sox. So that's the way to go there. I already talked about the Skeens game. Philadelphia at Miami. They've been alternating games here. Philadelphia won game 1 and 3 of the series, and Miami won the second game. Interesting pitching matchup here. Both bullpens actually didn't see much usage today, so the bullpen situation isn't that bad coming into this game, although both teams don't have very good bullpens, and Philadelphia did use some of their better relievers today, so that's something to keep in mind. Christopher Sanchez is pitching for the Phillies here, 3.05 ERA, 1.24 whip. Decent numbers, although his whip is higher than I would like to see. He's been a little bit better on the road, actually, with a 2.84 road ERA. And he's in pretty good form this month in 3 starts. Philadelphia has actually won, going back to last month. Actually, we can go back even further. Let's go back. We'll go for the full season. Why not? Philadelphia has only lost 3 starts that he's made all season. And they've won 11, I think. So in his, I think he's made 14 starts, right? Yeah, he's made 14 starts, and Philadelphia's 11-3 in those games. So that's something to keep in mind. This month, he has an 18-6 strikeout walk ratio, 2.25 ERA, and he walked nobody in the most recent game against Toronto. Excuse me. More impressive than doing it against Toronto. So he's been pitching well, man. Yeah, he's in good form right now. And against Miami, they only have 9 at-bats against him and 1 hit from Lopez. 2 strikeouts, no walks, no extra base hits, 111 average, 222 OPS. So Sanchez does have really good numbers against Miami, and some of their guys haven't even seen him before. And they are a really bad offense. So Sanchez appears to be in line for a good start here. Miami has Edward Cabrera starting. He's actually better than his numbers would make it look. 4.1 ERA, 1.46 whip. That's not good. But I believe he's pitching better as of late. He is a little bit worse at home, though, the 4.35 ERA. He was pitching better recently, though. Until this month, he actually has been a little bit shaky, not going more than 4 innings in either of the 2 starts. Both on the road, but against offenses that aren't really that good, Tampa Bay and Washington. Although Tampa Bay, they play in Steinbrenner Field, which is, a spring training stadium that's very hitter-friendly for the most part. So that's a little bit of a difficult assignment there for Cabrera. The defense wasn't good behind him. He does still have 10 strikeouts in 7 innings this month and 4 walks, which is basically in line with what he does. He throws hard. He gets a lot of strikeouts. He walks too many guys. Didn't allow that many runs in either of those starts, and he actually didn't throw that many pitches in either start, so it almost looks like both starts got shortened due to weather or something. So maybe we could still say Cabrera is actually pitching fairly well right now. And even though the Phillies have a good lineup, Cabrera in 73 at-bats and a big sample size actually hasn't been that bad against them. 233 average, 727 OPS. Those are decent numbers, except 19-16 strikeout walk ratio is a bit of a concern. That is a lot of walks. So that is the one concern. But other than that, overall, he's done well against Philadelphia. They don't really have any hitter that specifically really dominates him. So I think first 5 inning under is the way that I would look in that game. The total's down from 8 to 7.5 now, so the odds makers kind of expecting it to be a low-scoring game as well, and I do not disagree with that. Don't see the numbers on that total yet as far as cash percentage, ticket percentage. Philadelphia is down from -183 to -171. They're going to be a very public road favorite, 88% of tickets and 92% of the cash, but I think the money line is reverse moving against a public team. So I think that is an indicator that some real money is coming in on Miami. And I think it makes sense if you think both starters are going to do fairly well here. That could mean that Miami is in the game, and it makes sense to just grab them at a pretty big home underdog price. But personally, I think the best way to play it is under in the first 5 innings, but you do probably have to go under about 3.5. So there's not a lot of leeway there. But I actually like how the matchup lines up for both starting pitchers. The problem, of course, is that the bullpens are not that good, so I would take them out of the equation. Mets at Atlanta. Atlanta's won both games of the series, and one of them was because Soto made a weird, I forgot to mention this morning, Soto made a weird base running blunder that then allowed Atlanta to then win the game right after that. As Soto, on a deep fly ball, I think he got doubled off of first base, if I remember correctly, something like that. Not great. And then Atlanta, behind a great performance from Chris Sale today. I thought Sale wasn't sure what he was going to do in this game, man, because I think he had bad numbers against the Mets. I thought he was going to do poorly, but he actually, or I thought he had the potential to do not that well in this game at least, but he did really well. He shut out the Mets, was dominant. Went 8 2/3, so he almost finished the game. They probably could have let him. He threw a lot of pitches, 116, so we'll see how that affects him in his next game. But the Braves basically saved their entire bullpen. Iglesias only made 2 pitches, so their entire bullpen is going to be available here, whereas the Mets had to go into their bullpen early after Blackburn was out of the game early, was very inefficient with his pitches. Mets do have a pretty good bullpen in general, but the bullpen rest situation is very much in favor of Atlanta. Coming into this one, Clay Holmes is pitching for the Mets, 2.87 ERA, 1.17 whip, so his numbers are actually good. I don't know how he keeps doing it, man. He has a better ERA on the road, too, 2.41 ERA. I mean, the way he keeps doing it is he's a ground ball pitcher. He has a lot more ground balls than fly balls, so I think that's how he kind of gets away with putting too many men on base via the walk. This month, he's been fairly good even with the walk numbers, though. 2.5 ERA this month, 12-2 strikeout walk ratio, which is pretty impressive. Allowing 3 or fewer earned runs in all 3 starts, going at least 5 innings in all 3. But his last 4 starts were all against weak opponents. White Sox, Colorado twice, and then Tampa Bay. Granted, he did go to Coors Field and pitched pretty well in Coors Field, but still he's facing weak offenses there, so he is stepping a little bit up in class to face an Atlanta offense. It's a little bit more difficult to face than those offenses. Against Atlanta, his numbers are pretty decent, though, in a small 18 at-bat sample size, 222 average, 739 OPS, but the strikeout-walk ratio is bad. 5 strikeouts, 8 walks. That's a little bit of a concern that he does have too many walks. Other than that, his numbers are not bad, though, against Atlanta. Atlanta has Strider pitching, and I think he is the better of the 2 pitchers. He has the better stuff. He's starting to turn it around as he's trying to return from injury this season. 4.35 ERA, 1.16 whip. So that whip is good, indicating this ERA should be better than it is. He's been slightly better at home with a 4.09 ERA, but his splits are not that significant. But I think the most telling thing is he just had a 6-inning, 13 strikeout shutout against Colorado. I know Colorado's offense isn't good, but that tells me Strider is returning to form here. If you have that many strikeouts against anybody, that means you're returning into your form. So I think Strider is getting to be back, man. Overall, 22-6 strikeout walk ratio this month, but most of it is because of that 13 strikeout performance, which is impressive. So I think he is in form again. But his numbers against the Mets are actually bad. In 80 at-bats, a 20-13 strikeout walk ratio is quite bad, actually. 325 average allowed is bad, and a 982 OPS is bad. So Strider actually does not have good numbers against the Mets. So that's what worries me, because it looked like this matchup looked decent for Atlanta, because they have the more rested bullpen. I like Strider generally more than Holmes. So I was like, oh, Atlanta looks like the right side. But now I'm kind of thinking maybe the Mets have got a shot here, and it looks like the money is coming in towards the Mets, with Atlanta down from -135 to -121. The matchup numbers do favor Holmes in the specific matchup against these hitters. 70% of tickets, 86% of cash coming on the Mets. The money is coming in towards the Mets. The bullpen might be a little bit of an issue, though, even though the Mets have a good bullpen. Like I said, if you want to take the bullpens out of the equation, because Atlanta's is certainly more rested than obviously a first 5-inning play, grabbing the Mets, probably it's still a slight underdog price would be the way to go. In this game, we have seen a little bit of movement down on the total from 8.5 juice to the over to 8.5. 67% of tickets, 79% of cash on the under. So some money coming in on the under, there in that one. So some professionals, I guess, expecting both pitchers to maybe do fairly well here, but I worry about that. Again, the Mets, their bullpen is good, but not well rested, and Strider has bad matchup numbers against the Mets. Baltimore and Tampa Bay, tonight's game between these two teams was insane. Baltimore scored 8 runs in the top of the second inning to take an 8-0 lead, and then they never scored again, and Baltimore beat them 12-8, and by the time the 5th inning was over, Tampa scored 12 runs to win 12-8. By the time the 5th inning was over, Baltimore didn't even have the lead anymore. Imagine having a first 5-inning wager on this, and you're up 8-0 in the second inning, and you're still up 8-4 going into the bottom of the 5th, and it ends up 8-8, so your bet pushes. Ridiculous. Or imagine having Baltimore in the game, which I mentioned I leaned Baltimore a little bit in this game because I didn't like Taj Bradley. I liked Rodgers a little bit better, but imagine having that. You're up 8-0, and then you lose the game 12-8, although Tampa did outplay them. An 18-7 hit edge, big edge in the hits for Tampa Bay. But Rodgers did actually outpitch Bradley. Bradley pitched horrifically in the game. Neither pitcher lasted long at all. So both bullpens are completely blown out coming into this game here, which is not a good sign for the bullpens. And this is a fairly hitter-friendly park, like I said, in Steinbrenner Field, so an over probably makes sense in this game because you have Baltimore bullpen that's not good. Tampa's bullpen is good, but both bullpens are shot coming into this game. So if it gets to the bullpens, I think an over does make sense. Problem is, the starting pitching matchup actually looks good for both starters. Charlie Morton pitching for the Orioles. I know his numbers are terrible. Looks like he should retire. 6.05 ERA, 1.66 whip. That's bad. He's been even worse on the road. 7.97 ERA. So what am I talking about? Well, since they put him in the bullpen and then now he's come back after, I believe Baltimore lost the first 12 games that he appeared in. They've actually won 4 games that he's appeared in a row. Granted, he didn't face very good offense. The St. Louis White Sox at the A's, but that was at the A's Park, but he didn't do well in that game. They still won it, and that was one of my plays, fading Severino in that one and fading the A's bullpen really as well in that one. So not really impressive with Morton just because he had a bad start in that one. And then he bounced back with a good start, but it was against Anaheim, and they're not very good. But he had 10 strikeouts in that game and 1 walk. So for a 41-year-old Morton, 10 strikeouts does actually catch my attention. That is actually impressive. He has, even despite that bad performance at Oakland, he has a 2.5, or at the A's, he has a 2.57 ERA this month, 22-6 strikeout walk ratio. He's allowed more than 1 hit per inning, which is a little bit worrisome, but hasn't allowed a home run this month. And he's been pretty good, man, in those starts. So Morton is actually not that bad right now. That 10 strikeout performance tells me he's in decent form. He's facing a weak Tampa lineup, and Tampa has not done well against him. In 31 at bats, they only have 4 hits. They have a 129 average and a very weak 469 OPS off, and that's because of 8 walks to 12 strikeouts. So I know that ratio isn't good, but Brandon Lowe does have 4 of the walks. So Morton overall does really well against Tampa in general, and Rasmussen is on the other side of the hill for Tampa. He's having a good season. 2.55 ERA and 0.95 whip. Those are very good numbers, even though I'm kind of expecting that he won't continue to do this well, but he has been good. He's been even better in this stadium at home with a 2.04 home ERA, which is pretty good. 3.38 ERA this month over 3 starts, with a 14-2 strikeout walk ratio. And Tampa's actually won 6 straight starts of his. He's got at least 5 innings in every single one. He allowed no runs in the first 3 and then finally allowed some runs in the last 2. Granted, those starts were mostly against bad offenses. Miami, Minnesota, Texas, Miami again. But Toronto in there, I mean, they're an okay offense. And then the Mets last time out, although that was his worst start. Gave up 4 earned runs in that one. Not a great start, but maybe not a momentum killer for Rasmussen. He might still do well here. And against a pretty bad Orioles lineup, he's done well in 39 at-bats. And they have 6 hits off him, 6-1 strikeout walk ratio, 154 average, 406 OPS. So Rasmussen actually has done well against Baltimore. So I actually like the starting pitching matchup here, and I don't like the bullpens at all. So it's almost like you want to go under in the first 5 innings, but over in the full game. Very, very strange. The total's high, which, again, it's high for a reason. I mean, I think the odds makers are having to adjust it high because they don't think that much of Morton and because the bullpens are completely shot. 60% of tickets, 81% of cash on the over, although the total's dropped a little bit with more juice on the under 9. But, yeah, hard to gauge, hard to read that market, man. And Tampa's down from minus 149 to minus 143. Very, very public. 95% of tickets, only 94% of the cash. The public wants nothing to do with Baltimore. But there is some reverse line movement indicating some money is actually taking Baltimore at the underdog price. I don't think I want to do that because Rasmussen is still better than Morton, and Tampa's bullpen is still better than Baltimore's. So Tampa still should have a slight edge for those reasons. But, and the offenses are kind of a wash, I think. But other than that, yeah, the starting pitching matchup actually looks good for an under. So I think under first 5 inning might make sense to look for. But I think if once it gets to the bullpens, I actually think it shifts to an over. So it's a very rare occasion where I would actually say under first 5 innings kind of makes sense, and an over in the full game also makes sense, which it's crazy to have those thoughts, man. It's almost schizo. I would probably never bet both of those. I would try to figure out which one of those I think is the better option and try to do it, but it's really hard because you have a lot of conflicting factors, obviously, if that's the way that you're thinking. So that's not good. Not going to be a play. I don't have any plays left, but I will talk about the remaining games. Houston at the A's. Of course, Houston just won again. Houston's won 2 games in a row here against the A's by massive scores of 13-3 and 11-4. So you got to think something's got to give here, and maybe Houston isn't going to have a good performance for once, but I don't know, man. Because the A's bullpen, part of the handicap tonight was that the A's bullpen was not rested, and the Astros continued maintaining their bullpen edge here. The Astros have the way better bullpen anyway, but their bullpen is still going to be more rested coming into tomorrow because they used fewer relief pitchers again in tonight's game. So Houston still has a bullpen edge here. The offenses, I think the A's maybe have a slightly better offense. It's not by much. Colton Gordon is going to be making the start for Houston. Has a 4.7 ERA, 1.34 whip, which is not that good. He's actually in his first season in the majors. But if you look at his overall stats, he has a 30-4 strikeout walk ratio in 30 2/3 innings. He's just been getting hit too hard. He has allowed 37 hits, which isn't good, and 6 home runs. So he's allowed too many hard hits. Other than that, he's actually been pretty impressive. Houston's actually won 5 of his 6 starts. He's only allowed more than 3 earned runs once, which was the one loss that they had, and that was against Tampa Bay. Kind of a weird game in that one, but he's had a really good strikeout walk ratio, which does indicate that his command is pretty good. He's gone at least 5 innings in every start except for the first one. So Gordon is actually pitching pretty well. One worry is that they did extend him to over 100 pitches in his most recent game, which is the first time this season that he even topped the mid-80s pitch-wise, or went above 85. So he might be in a little bit of a bad spot because of that, because a lot of times when a young pitcher, they're not used to being extended like that, and they throw 100 pitches, they might be in line for a worse game the next time out. But maybe not, because he's been pitching pretty well overall, and the A's have no track record against him. So again, a young pitcher with decent stuff against a lineup that hasn't seen him before, that tends to be a good sign for the pitcher. They tend to have a little bit of an advantage for that reason, but Gordon is pitching in this crazy A's stadium, so it might not be as great for him. Like Valdez, even though he hadn't pitched there before, Valdez is like a veteran, so I didn't think he was going to be that thrown off by it, even though he walked too many guys tonight. But Gordon is a young guy who might be more thrown off by having to pitch in a stadium like this. He's up against Jacob Lopez, who is one of the hardest pitchers for me to figure out what's going on with. I don't get him at all. 4.8 ERA, 1.5 whip. It's basically like he either does really awesome or really, really terrible. He actually has a way better ERA in this hitter-friendly stadium. Make any sense of that? I don't know how you can make sense of that. He has a 3.18 ERA at home in this very hitter-friendly ballpark at the A's Stadium in Sacramento. I don't understand it. He's coming off a nice performance on the road. 6 innings shutout against Kansas City, 3 hits, 1 walk, 9 strikeouts, which shows me his command is good. I mean, this month, 23-4 strikeout walk ratio, 3.14 ERA. Was very inefficient, though, in the other 2 games against Minnesota and Baltimore, and he didn't do well at all. Well, in the Minnesota game, he gave up 5 runs because he gave up 3 home runs, but he still had a 9-1 strikeout walk ratio, so it's very interesting how his stats are very conflicting. Like, his strikeout walk ratio has been good basically since he joined the starting rotation, but he's had a couple of weird stinkers in there as well. And sometimes he's just way too inefficient with his pitches. He's very difficult to figure out. But I'm kind of starting to err on the side of he's actually fairly good, even though Kansas City's not a good lineup. Houston's not that good a lineup either. So Lopez might actually do okay here, and Houston's never seen it before either. So as crazy as it sounds, I think an under might make sense in this game. Although really you don't really want that much to do with the A's bullpen, although Houston's bullpen looks like they're in decent shape, and maybe you just need one of the 2 bullpens to help get you the under here. Under first 5 innings would be okay too if you just want to go with the starting pitching matchup. But this is a high total, obviously, because we're in the A's stadium. It's always high. 10.5, but it's dropped a little bit to 10.5 with juice to the under. But we see 50% of tickets on the under, 51% of cash on the over. I don't know if there's anything to really read into that, but I actually think both pitchers, and they're also lefties who throw it like weird arm angles more often than not. So both offenses might actually struggle to figure out these 2 pitchers. It's just the A's bullpen is a little bit of a worry. So maybe first 5 innings under might make sense, even though I would really hesitate to play an under in that A's stadium in general. And then to finish it off, we have San Diego against the Dodgers. The Dodgers did win tonight. I gave them out as a lean on my show. It wasn't a play. I liked Sheehan for the Dodgers here, and he pitched pretty well, though they didn't let him go very deep. He was on a pitch count, which kind of makes sense, but he's pitching pretty well right now across both AAA and the majors, and the Dodgers basically saved their whole bullpen, man. They brought in Robleski, who's been in their starting rotation, so they only used 2 pitchers today. San Diego, after the last couple of days, I think their bullpen is kind of in worse shape now. They used some of their better relievers here, and they wound up losing the game on a walk-off in the bottom of the ninth right after San Diego tied it. San Diego was losing 3-1. They tied the game in the top of the ninth, and then they immediately lost the game. So that's going to be kind of hard, I think, in my opinion, for San Diego to bounce back from that. When you have, LA, you make that huge, you put in that huge ninth inning effort to tie it only to lose. That's not a good sign, man. And again, Dodgers do have a little bit of a bullpen rest edge, and it's highly likely that the Dodgers are going to be the later team to go into the bullpen in this game, too. San Diego is likely to be the first team to hit their bullpen here because they have Berger pitching, and I don't know what we're going to get out of him, man. 2.33 ERA, 0.98 whip. This is his first season in the majors. He's made 3 starts, 4 relief appearances. His numbers are good. Overall, yeah. I mean, on the road, he's been a little bit worse with a 2.45 ERA, but that's because his home ERA is 0, but he's only pitched 1 inning at home. So he is at least used to pitching on the road. It's actually crazy. He pitched 1 inning at home, and since then he hasn't even pitched at home, which is a pitcher-friendly ballpark in San Diego. Since then, he's made 6 appearances all on the road. Since he's been starting, he's actually gone at least 5 innings in all 3 starts, allowing 3 or fewer earned runs in all 3 starts. But even though he has a 2.93 ERA, which is pretty good, and San Diego actually won 2 of the 3 starts that he made, 14-8 strikeout walk ratio is concerning. I mean, that's too many walks. So I don't like the Berger is walking too many guys, so I don't like that. And he's up against probably the best pitcher the Dodgers have, Yamamoto. 2.64 ERA, 1.09 whip. I mean, Yamamoto, obviously, very good, is the real deal, though he's a little bit worse at home, 3.62 ERA. So he's been gotten to a little bit more at home. Dodgers have actually lost 3 starts in a row with him on the mound. I'll give him a little bit of a pass for not doing well against the Yankees because they have a good offense. He shut out St. Louis, had a nice bounce back there, but then he had a bad start his last time out against San Francisco at home. Gave up 2 home runs, didn't even make it 5 innings. 5 earned runs, had 5 walks as well, which is very unlike Yamamoto. So is he going to bounce back? I don't know, because that indicates he's kind of in bad form right now with more walks than strikeouts, 5 walks, 4 strikeouts against a San Francisco team that isn't even a good offense. That does worry me a little bit. And the other thing that worries me is San Diego actually wrecks Yamamoto, surprisingly. In 36 at-bats, they have a .417 average and 1,169 OPS, 8 strikeouts, 4 walks. So spread out across their whole lineup, they've actually hit him pretty well. Machado has 2 home runs off him. So I actually worry a little bit about Yamamoto here, too. I don't like Berger either, so actually I would probably lean to an over in that game, but we see 85% of tickets on the under, 99% of the cash on the under, total kind of just sitting at a 9. But the fact that the oddsmakers put a total of 9 out there in a Yamamoto game does kind of tell you they're expecting it to be a higher scoring game. Because Yamamoto gets a lot of respect in the marketplace, but it looks like the oddsmakers are telling you they think it'll be a high scoring game. Yamamoto, I mean, there's a huge favorite line on the Dodgers here, and it's because it's Yamamoto against a nobody. I apologize, Berger. Dodgers up from -230 to -234. 71% of tickets, 90% of the cash coming in on San Diego, though. So it looks like some of the actual money taking a shot, I guess, thinking there's some value on the San Diego side, maybe because they do hit Yamamoto so well, and he's a little bit easier to get to at home so far this year, so maybe that's happening. I probably prefer the over, though, if I was going to look to that game. And I think that's it, man. That's going to do it. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out and commenting and whatever. So my plays one more time for Thursday are in the WNBA, Golden State plus the points, plus 11.5. MLB, Toronto Blue Jays money line, or if you want to go with some combination of run line, money line, I think that's okay as well. And game 2, remember, McGreevy against the White Sox bullpen, Vasil or whatever. And actually, because we don't know, because it's a bullpen game, we don't know if Vasil is actually going to start the game. I think you should specify action on this one and not starters must start, because typically you want to specify starters must start, like the listed starters must start this game, and if they don't, then your bet will push, because obviously in most cases you're handicapping the starting pitching matchup is a pretty large component of the game, right? So you want those starting pitchers to have to start for your bet to count. But in this game, because we're going with McGreevy, he's likely to start here, and the White Sox might actually start somebody else, and it's going to be a bullpen game. We pretty much know it's going to be. I think I would do it with action here just so the bet will count, because I think regardless of what the White Sox do with this bullpen game or whatever they're planning on doing, there's like no possibility that it's going to change the handicap pretty much. Like the only thing that would change is if Shane Smith was going to start the game, and he's not because he pitched like 2 days ago and he had a bad start as well. So anyway, yeah, I would specify action on that one, but it's game 2, St. Louis with McGreevy starting. Minus 1.5 on the run line is my recommendation there. Action. That's going to do it, man. Learn to Toad on Twitter. Thanks, guys, for hanging out. GiveSendGo.com/TowerGang. Toad is still up if you want to support my fundraiser still and help me get through. Bohemian Grove, I'm going to be flying out, so if there's still tickets available, you can come see us there Friday and Saturday, man. It'll be fun. I'll be down there for those couple of days hanging out. May take the stage 1 or 2 times as well. We'll see what happens. Although Tower Gang is at least on hiatus right now, man, which we'll see what happens. And I think that's going to do it. I don't think I have anything else to promote, right? I think that's it, right? And Better Off Dead, baby. I'm going to have to I'm not going to get much sleep tonight because I got to get up, even though I'm like, well, my flight's like 11-something a.m. I'm like, that's not bad. I don't have to get up that early, right? But it's like, oh, shit, that's right. You have to get to the airport way early. I don't have pre-check right now. Maybe I should, get it or something, but I don't think I fly enough for it to be even worth it. I don't know. I don't know how much it costs. Maybe I'll look into it, but hopefully everything goes smoothly, and that's going to do it, man. Thanks, guys. Peace, and good early morning.